Shine with Kendell Lenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
All right, welcome to Shine with Kendell Lenice. I am your host, Kendell Lenice. Allow me to introduce myself to you just a little bit further. I am a certified transformational life coach, speaker, and author, as well as a certified meditation practitioner and content creator. I'm so glad that you decided to join me on my life podcast. On this podcast, I will educate, elevate, and entertain you with various topics. We will do live coaching, and I will hopefully give you a different perspective on some of your favorite topics and introduce you to new ones. I'm not sure how you stumbled upon this podcast. I'm just so glad you did. Before we get started, do me a favor and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening and rate if you are able to. Thank you so much once again for tuning in, and now on to this week's show. Today's show is sponsored by 617 Lip Love, Organic Lip Moisturizer Balm by Kendell Lenice. Get yours today at leniceboutique.com. This product is for men and women, and its signature flavor, eucalyptus mint. It's the bomb, y'all. Get it today at leniceboutique.com. Protect your lips, heal your lips at all costs. 617 Lip Love Organic Lip Moisturizer Balm. Get yours today at leniceboutique.com. Support Black businesses, support women-owned businesses. leniceboutique.com. Hey everybody, it is Kendell Lenice, and welcome to Shine with Kendell Lenice. I don't know how you stumbled upon this podcast. I'm just so glad you did. To all my loyal listeners, thank you so much for repeatedly coming back, listening to my podcast. I like to call this a life podcast. I'm a life coach, and I talk about real life issues to coach you through them, because ultimately I want you to be the best person you can be. The best version of yourself is what I am aiming for. And you never stop learning, you never stop growing. My channel is all about education, elevation, and entertainment. I say that because I'm looking at my YouTube right now live, and my show is about education, elevation, and entertainment. Everything that I do, because I'm going to entertain you, but I want you to learn something. Let me learn you something. And that's what we're talking about, because I'm all about healing and growth and taking people on this journey to be the best they can be. And this episode is no different. We're talking about dirty little shame. Shame is what we're talking about today. But as always, before we get started, let me start with this week's Life Note. All right, it's time for this week's Life Note. All right, so this week's Life Note is by a shame expert. She studies shame. This is what she does. Everybody knows. If you don't know her, you better know. Brene Brown. Her quote is, "Shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we are capable of change." You want me to say that again? Shame corrodes the brain. No, shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we are capable of shame. So in other words, shame paralyzes us. And that's what I want to talk about today, because the shame can be so overwhelming. You think that you can't change, or you can't grow, or you can't lift your head up off the pillow or take the cover off of your head due to shame. So many people are dealing with shame, and it's hard for them to live their very best life. So if I can do my small part and encourage someone to release the cloak of shame, take it off, take off that shame. Shame defined is a feeling of embarrassment or humiliation that arises in the relation to the perception of having done something dishonorable, immoral, or improper. While shame is a negative emotion, its origins play a part in our survival species. And let me give another definition. Shame is an unpleasant, self-conscious emotion, typically associated with a negative evaluation of the self, withdrawal, motivations, and feelings of distress, exposure, mistrust, powerlessness, and worthiness. Worthlessness. Let me clear, because you don't feel worthy. It's worthlessness. All right. So what is shame? It's an uncomfortable sensation we feel in the pit of our stomachs when it seems we have no safe haven from the judgment of someone else's gaze. We feel small and bad about ourselves and wish we could vanish. I'm trying to read real low. Vanish. Although shame is a universal emotion, how it affects mental health and behavior is not self-evident. So let me be clear, because this is really nothing to laugh about. I'm going to read that one again. Shame is the uncomfortable sensation we feel in the pit of our stomach when it seems we have no safe haven from judging from someone else's gaze of us. We feel small and bad about ourselves, wish we could vanish and disappear. Although shame is a universal emotion, how it affects mental health and behavior is self-evident. And that definition was from scientificamerican.com. So I want to give the credit where credit is due. Let me give an example of shame. If you're called out, how many people have been called out for making a mistake, right? And you feel humiliated. When someone says something in front of a lot of people, that could be shame. That could be it could be as small as you have toilet paper on the back of your shoe and everybody is laughing at it and no one told you they were laughing at that. And that could be shameful. That could be a low end or that could be a high end for some. And that's the thing about shame. No one else can say, oh, that's nothing to be ashamed about. Everybody's meter of shame is different depending who you're talking to. So someone could be exposed, right, and be shameful. Someone's pants, women, sometimes you have a skirt on and sometimes it gets stuck in your underwear in the back, right? And then you come out and everybody sees your backside and some might not be ashamed. They'd be like, whatever, it happens. And some people might be humiliated with shame with that. So typically it's, it all is in the eye of whoever is being shamed, because people can shame you and you can feel shame whether you have a child out of wedlock, whether you don't know your child's father, whether you get fired from a job and have to have your boxes and you walking out and everybody's looking at you. That could be shameful. Shameful could be that you didn't grow up with a mother or a father. The shame that could be really paralyzing you right now is maybe you can't read, maybe you don't have an education. The shame could be that you didn't graduate from high school or college. The shame could be, you're staying in an abusive relationship and everybody knows it and you're still there and you're shameful and you're humiliated, but you don't know how to leave. Shame could be a number of things, and no one can tell the next person what should shame them or not, or to belittle what they're feeling, because that's another form of humiliation. Some people may not know how to speak well and they're ashamed. They could be ashamed of their accent, ashamed because they're from the South or from the Midwest or from the wherever. There are so many people walking around with shames that you really can't even imagine. So they give an example here. Let's say, for example, if you are called out for a mistake in public. That's what I talked about. Or humiliated by someone walking in on you naked. So if you're in the shower and someone comes in that's not supposed to come in and they see you, that could be shameful. That could be humiliating, for some. This is typically what many people think of when shame is mentioned. Disappointed, expectations is a third type of shame, which is when you set out to do something and you fail. So that could be, you could be ashamed because you got divorced once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. You could be ashamed of that. You could be ashamed that you started a business and it wasn't successful or as successful as you thought. You started a job and the shame could be you got fired because you couldn't do the job. Whatever shame is to you. It's so difficult to describe shame because you're going to have that side that says, that's nothing to be ashamed about. That happened to me 2-3 times. Ain't no big deal getting a divorce. Ain't no big deal. People get fired. That's just what happens. But it affects everyone differently. And some people cannot recover, period, or quickly, enough to sustain their mental, right? Or live their best life. According to Brene Brown, she's a researcher at the University of Houston, and she says shame is an intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. It's an emotion that affects us all and profoundly shapes the way we interact with the world. This is so very true. And as I'm watching impeachment, I don't know if you saw, it's American Crime Story, impeachment. And impeachment is about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, Paula Jones, Linda Tripp. That's what they're talking about on this season of impeachment, this season of American Crime Story. The one that a lot of people saw was the O.J. Simpson story. And they do an excellent job with these American crime stories. But I was watching it as this show unfolds this season. I was watching an interview with Monica Lewinsky now. And she was talking about the shame, how she was a 21-year-old woman who was seduced, in a sense, by a 49-year-old man, a grown man who happened to be the president of the United States, Bill Clinton. And if you don't know the story, if you're not old enough to know the story, or if you're old enough to know the story, you all remember, what was going down then. But we didn't know all the inside, although we heard tapes and we saw the news every single day. And we were watching it and some of us cringing because Linda Tripp was the friend of Monica Lewinsky. And she set her up and recorded her personal, private conversations. And if you hear the tapes, you can hear that she sounds like a young child. So she was manipulated by said president as well as her so-called older friend. So both of these people were older than she was, right? So now Monica Lewinsky lives her life in shame because the president said I had no sexual relations with that woman, right? And he denounced and denied their relationship, love affair, whatever you want to call it. And she shows herself in the movie and the show as well as in real life where she was ashamed. She was ashamed that she made that decision. She was ashamed that she befriended Linda Tripp. She was ashamed. She was just ashamed. She wanted to just hide. And essentially, that's what she did for 20 years, give or take, coming in and out, doing different things, but for the most part. And she did a TED Talk about shame and how, it really paralyzed her from living because it was something that happened in her 20s, and now I think she's 48. She is just getting over the shame, and she's really an advocate for, anti-bullying. But that shame could keep you in the house for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 30 years, 50 years, whatever that shame is. So just imagine one day you're one way and then the next day everybody knows you, and everybody knows you for, having oral sex with the president. So just imagine that, and that mistake that you make, in your 20s, and how you go around now, everybody knows your name, and she ain't the first person that's had oral sex with nobody, but because of the significance of who she had it with, and in the time, they were shaming women more than men. Now, you have advocacy for women who, not going to say, great job, Monica, what you did was amazing. But at the same time, both parties should be shamed if they're shaming. But a lot of times the shame was left to the woman. And the woman had to carry the brunt and the brunt and the burden of the shame, where sometimes men can go on about their lives. Think about, that's one instance, but think about teenage pregnancy. Think about that, right? Where the family often, even back in the day, were ashamed, and they carried shame because their teenage daughter or got pregnant, right? So back in the day, I used to always hear that people would send the child down south for relatives or something like that for the summer, but it was really to hide the shame of ruining the family's name or ruining your reputation. And they pretended that she wasn't pregnant. Then they came back, they weren't pregnant, or, the aunt and uncle, whoever down south raised the child, or the child came back and all of a sudden that's the cousin or the aunt's baby, but it was really the teenager's baby, so she can go to school and she wasn't ashamed, back in the day. Now it is what it is, teenagers been having, babies for years. And now I think the shame of that is not as strong as it used to be back in the day. And then you have this young girl who is shame-ridden. Like, she's really ashamed that, she got pregnant at this age. And then you have the young boy who really, he ain't carrying no shame, because he may or may not even be there. He might go off to college or do what he's supposed to do or what his family wants him to do. And then the young girl carries that shame. You have people who are in a room with educated people, right? Or I can't even say educated, because college don't make you educated. In a room with someone who may have gone to college or have a degree. And then you have someone who may not have graduated from high school. I know people like that who carry that shame of maybe not finishing college, or maybe not being smart, or thinking they're smart because of that. Then you have people that come from the hood, and then you got somebody coming from upper echelon, neighborhood. Some people carry the shame of where they grew up and pretend to be from somewhere else, and essentially lie because they don't want, they're embarrassed and ashamed. But it's time to release the shame. No more shame, people. Take the bullets out the gun. Be proud of who you are, even with all the mistakes that you made. And the sooner that you own your whatever it is, that shame, that's when you'll be able to free yourself. And so many people cannot be free because other people hold shame over their heads. And that happens very often, where other people know a dirty little secret, a dirty little shame, and you don't know when they might drop that shame bomb and tell people your business. So I know a lot of people that tread lightly and walk softly because they don't want anybody else to expose them, which is so wrong. But some people just hold certain things over your head, and they're waiting for a moment to release that so you can feel shameful. But the problem is, if you own whatever happens to you in your life, and you take the bullets out the gun, and nobody can shoot you with your own past, then that's when you begin to be free. Like, I don't care what you say or do because I own whatever happened. And that's where I want everybody to be. I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back. Are you stuck in an unhappy relationship or a dead-end job? Are you having difficulty moving to the next level in life? Are you looking for love or romance? Are you looking to achieve and accomplish your goals? Are you looking to get more clarity on your vision? Do you struggle with self-esteem? Are you looking for insight, trying to figure out what you're trying to do with your life? These are some of the things I can help you with. Hi, my name is Kendell Lenice, and I'm a certified transformational life coach. For more information about my life coaching services, please visit livingtruelivingyou.com. Now back to the show. All right, we are back. So as always, I love Psychology Today. And I also, because Brene Brown is a shame expert, she does a lot of extensive research in shame. I want to end the podcast, not just yet, but with some of the antidotes, if you will. She has something called shame resistance and resilience, building shame resilience and being resistant to the shame. Like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be shameful. You ain't going to hold me to the fire and make me feel ashamed. Because some people can make you feel ashamed when it's nothing to even be ashamed about. It's life, and everyone has something in their lives that they might have been embarrassed of, right? And then they've done their work, they've done their self-work and their healing and reflection exercises, and they free themselves of whatever that shame, humiliation, embarrassment was. Then you got somebody that comes back around and tells you again why you should be shameful. And then you fall right back into that rabbit hole again. No more. I want you to be strong. I want you to own whatever it was that you were shameful for, that held you back, and you were held prisoner and paralyzed by that shame. It's time to release that shame. So Psychology Today gives steps to consider when it comes to shame and releasing that. 5 ways to silence your shame. Now, I'm going to just start with saying, with everything, when I'm life coaching and I'm speaking, the first thing is ownership, acknowledging it, calling what it is, owning that and naming that. So bringing it to light, saying, this is where I'm ashamed. This is what I feel ashamed about. Now, everything that you're shameful about, if it's more than one, it's not going to happen overnight, and everybody is not going to be ready to release the shame. Let me be clear, all at once. But it's a process in acknowledging what the shame is and bringing light to that within your own self. It doesn't have to be with anybody else, but with you saying, wow, I'm still being held back and held captured by this shame. What do I need to do to release this shame? You got to have that heart to heart with yourself, and you have to acknowledge, because those are those triggers. If somebody says something, you're like, ooh, that might be shame. So let's see what Psychology Today says. And they also refer to Brene Brown because she is an expert in shame. So she's a PhD in LMSW. So she describes pain, as I talked about, the intensely painful feeling of experience of believing we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging, right? So the first thing is to shed light, they say. Number 1, shed light on that. So getting beyond shame means acknowledging it, right? And sharing our experiences with trusted people in our lives. The ones we know who aren't perfect, but love us anyway. And they know they're not perfect, and they know we're not perfect, but we can have that mutual exchange of love and respect, right? So those, with anything, if you're talking to someone, if it's not just you, it has to be someone you can trust. And their empathy hopefully will allow us to keep our sense of shame in perspective. So how that happens is, now again, no one can judge someone else's shame, and they can't say, well, you shouldn't be ashamed of that. They could kind of counteract it by saying, but yeah, you were a teenage parent, but look at you now. You graduated from college. You have your own place. Look at your child now. That's a way that someone can do that, so you're not holding that in. Because sometimes if you have that conversation with yourself and you're by yourself all the time and in your head by yourself, then you're going to think that it's real bad. And then when you say it out loud and someone can remind you of who you are, sometimes you need the people that come into your life to restore your faith in you and realize who you are. So number 2 on their list is untangle what you are feeling. This is a list after my own heart, and that's why I love psychology today. So it's untangle what you're feeling. So whether you're like, should you be ashamed or not? Should I feel bad or not? Try to wrestle with your feelings. So let's see what they say. Being bad means you see yourself as incapable of changing or doing better. The remorse and regret that can come with guilt, on the other hand, can motivate us to make reparations or follow a new path. It's almost possible that humiliation or embarrassment is more an accurate label. Neither of those feelings are comfortable, but they don't aim at our self-worth in the ways shame does. So, an example, I can't believe my boss dressed me down in front of the entire, that's like told me about myself. I can't believe my boss dressed me down in front of the entire staff for missing that deadline. That's humiliation. If you're thinking, I can't believe I missed that deadline, I'm such a loser, that's shame. You see the difference? Let me read that again. I can't believe my boss dressed me down in front of that means like told you about yourself, in case you don't know that. Can't believe my boss dressed me down in front of the entire staff for missing that deadline. That's humiliation, right? So if you're thinking, I can't believe I missed a deadline, I'm such a loser, that's shame. You see the difference? All right, so number 3 on their list is unhitch what you do from who you are. Woo! My. Unhitch what you do from who you are. And this is the thing. And when I think about that, I think about Jamie Watkins. I had her on my panel right here, my cheaters panel, where I had, why people cheat. And she had cheated. And she made a statement with, I cheated, but I'm not a cheater. That's not who I am. And that's separating that. One act doesn't make you that person. If you told a white lie, it doesn't mean you are a liar. Now, if you lie all day long when your eyes are open, then that might be something different that you want to address. But if you told a lie, it could have been a lie to protect somebody, a lie to make somebody feel beautiful, whatever it is, that doesn't make you that. So you have to detach yourself from the act. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of people make themselves that. They'll be like, I'm a teenage mom. Like, but you 50. You ain't a teenage mom no more. Release that. Your children are older than teenagers. But some people hold that cloak of shame still in the room for 20, 30, 40 years. It's time to release that. Number 4, this is very important. Recognize your triggers. Now, recognizing your triggers in all areas will help you grow and help you heal. What are those triggers that make me pop off or make me embarrassed or make me ashamed? What are those? Recognize your trigger. That's why it's important for you to do your work, whether it's seeing a life coach, a therapist, or a counselor, or all 3. Some of my life coaching clients have therapists as well. Therapists take them all the way back to the past to find out, and I bring them to the present and take them into the future. So, one of shame's sneakiest tricks is the ability to hit us where we're most vulnerable. A new mom who secretly feels out of depth is more likely to feel shame when her parenting style is questioned. A man who worries that he doesn't measure up as a provider may see the spouse's comment about the neighbor's new car as an attempt to shame him rather than an innocent observation. Ooh, we cooking with grease now. Think about that. Let me just talk to the people who are in a relationship, right? Because I'm guilty of this. Where you see, I just saw a friend of mine today. For her birthday, her husband was traveling surprising her with a trip for her birthday. She had no idea where she was going. And that was an observation. She was like, I don't know where I'm going. So she was on live. Like, I don't know where I'm going. Let me see where I'm going, right? And I'm all invested like, oh, everybody's like, oh, where's she going? She don't know where she's going. And I said to my husband, I was like, oh, that's so nice. Her husband surprised her on, for a trip for her birthday, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going. Now, he could have been ashamed that he didn't do that for my birthday. And I'm just speaking just hypothetically, right? But he sees that. Now, for me, it really was an observation. But you never know how someone takes something. Like you say, oh, they got her a car. They got, her husband got her a car with a bow on it, and the husband could be like, dang, I was trying to get you a car, but I ain't had the money to do that. But now I'm ashamed because everybody sees that you driving this one with one wheel on it and your husband can't even buy you one. So that's where the shame comes in for a lot of people. And with parenting, the shame of breastfeeding, the shame of not breastfeeding, the shame of getting your children vaccinated, the shame of not getting your children vaccinated. Let's talk about the coronavirus right now, COVID-19, the vaccination. People are trying to shame people who aren't vaccinated. People are shaming people who are vaccinated. People are shaming people with natural hair. People are shaming people with perms and unnatural hair. If that's what you will, it's still natural, but I guess natural means nothing on it. But then, I'm natural, right? But then, if I got a perm, I wouldn't be natural. But then you could still be natural, but get your hair colored. Do you see the difference? Like everybody's waiting to divide and say this team or that team. And it's crazy. If you got long hair, you might be shamed. If you got short hair, you might be shamed. Like people put all of this shame on other people. And sometimes it's not even the person. It's the other people. It's society putting the shame on you, making you feel shameful. People shame mothers who stay at home with their children. People shame the same mothers when they go out to work. You don't spend no time with your kids. Oh, you don't go to work. You don't, what kind of woman are you? Oh, I'm going to shame you because you can't have kids. Oh, I'm going to shame you because you got too many kids. You see where I'm going? People shame other people and then people own that shame and hang on to that shame like it's a shame coat. And they hold on to it and they close it up and they walk around with it. Then they put the other baggage on their back and they're walking around with a heavy heart and a heavy back because they allowed people to shame them when they weren't ashamed in the first place. Recognize your triggers. Number 5, make the connection. So connect why you're ashamed, because that's what I was talking about. You might realize you ain't even ashamed. Other people put that on you. And so many people do that. And as a life coach, I want to remove that. I want to counteract what everybody else said. That's the importance, because that's when you begin to heal. I'm on this healing journey for myself. I'm on this healing journey for other people. I always say I'm the best life coach because I coach from a place of honesty, integrity, humor, and real life experiences. I'm a woman. I'm not a perfect woman. Nobody on this earth is. So I coach from that place. Yes, I have the degree. Yes, I have the certifications, but I coach from a place of honesty and a place of experience, and nothing can take the place of that. I'm a 50-year-old woman. Now, you know, I got some stories and experiences under my belt. So if I can pass that along to my clients in addition to the book knowledge and what I need them to do to be able to meet the goals that they want to do, then that's what I'm going to do. And it's important to own whatever it is in your triggers and work through it. The first thing is honesty. My 3 H's are honesty helps heal. And that's what it is. Like Iyanla says, call a thing. Whatever it is, own that. I tell my clients, own that feeling, own that emotional, name it, because you want to feel it. And then when you name it and feel it, you can get rid of that thing. All right. So I want to end with Brene Brown's Building Shame Resistance and Resilience. Recognizing shame and its triggers before we can overcome shame. We must be able to recognize it. That's what I'm talking about. Name it, right? Brown says that we tend to first feel shame physically before our minds realize what it is. That's deep. Because you feel that the emotions run through your body, whether it's your stomach gets queasy, whether you get a headache, whether you have anxiety, whether you get shaky, whether you get nervous, you feel those emotions through your body before you even realize it's shame. Like, why is my heart beating so fast when I'm entering this room with all of these scholars and I don't even have a college degree? I don't even have a high school diploma. I dropped out of high school at 14. These are some of the people. But then you have these people who didn't even have a high school education or college education go in a room of scholars and kill it. Like, they're able to do that, but their psyche and their emotions are making them feel like they're less than and unworthy to be in the space. It starts with you. You have to know that you're worthy to be any place you need or want to be or where God put you. And that's the thing. Number 2 for Brene Brown's is practicing critical awareness. Number 3, reaching out. Number 4, speaking shame. So talking about what it is and having conversations like this and listening to podcasts like mine, or, looking at TED Talks from Brene Brown or whoever, because if the more that we talk about things, the more that you can recognize what's happening with you. So signs you have shame is when you feel extra sensitive about something. If someone is in the room and they're talking about the sororities or fraternities they've been to or the colleges they've been to and you've never been to college, you might have that shame, right? So you feel a little sensitive the minute somebody asks you something you feel like you can't answer. Or if you're in a room of all these married people and children and you got 5 kids and you've never been married, then you might put that shame on yourself, where someone else might not even know that you're not married, but you put that shame on yourself. So that's feeling extra sensitive. Other feelings are feeling unappreciated, uncontrollable blushing, like where it shows in your face, you feel like the weird feeling used or rejected, feeling like you have little impact. So let's start right there. So when you feel like you can't make the difference, that's what I'm talking about. Like if you're in a room with scholars and you feel like you're not a scholar, but you're feeling like you can't make an impact. Anyone with life experience can make an impact. It doesn't take a college degree to do that. But a lot of scholars may, make you feel that way. A lot of mothers might shame you for you going to work. Yeah, I got to work. You staying home? Yeah, I'm staying home with my kids. They might make you feel, and I often think when other people try to shame you, it's something that they wish they could do or wish they had, or the experience when other people try to put it on you. So that's why you can't wear. That's something that you can't wear. You pass it back like hot potato. Here, give it that back. Give it back. Don't give that to me. And also, A huge one is worrying about what other people think of you. And that's really the thing, because you're not going to feel the shame if you're not concerned about what others have to say about you. Think about that. Meditate on that. So you would not feel shameful with that low down, dirty shame if you weren't concerned with other people. Because who else would you be ashamed in front of? Not God. Because God already know what happened. God already knew what was going to happen. So who you going to feel, ashamed about, embarrassed about, and humiliated? It got to be other people. And when you release yourself from other people's opinions, because those opinions have nothing to do with you, that's when you free yourself completely. And the same people that may be shaming you are the same people that are shamed about something. And it's easier for them to put their shame on you than to acknowledge their own shame and their own triggers. And that's really what it's about. I hate that hurt people, like they say, hurt people. That can't just be it. Okay, hurt people. No, somebody got to be healed to stop hurting people. I don't like that saying, hurt people, because it's almost like giving an excuse. Hurt people. Yes, but when does it come to a point where you take ownership of what's happening and, want better for yourself and your other people? So I encourage everybody to lift someone else up. And if someone comes to you and they tell you they feel ashamed, or you see the signs of being ashamed, pour into them. Tell them how amazing they are. Tell them, remind them of who they are and what they've been through and what they've accomplished and achieved, whether it's in life, whether it's in parenting, whether it's in work, education, wherever it is. Talk to them and say, no, you dope. Ain't no reason to be ashamed. And make sure you pour into other people like that. And that's what we really need to push, this healthy agenda forward. I thank everybody who took the time to listen to this episode of Shine with Kendell Lenice. I want to encourage you to set your intentions for this upcoming week, and to really set your intentions on healing those hurt spots, and really recognizing and paying attention to your triggers, whether it triggers your sensitivity, triggers your anger, triggers your unworthiness, whatever triggers you have. I want you to really pay attention, because that's how we can heal. Let's heal together. I thank you for tuning in to Shine with Kendell Lenice. If we're talking about healing, I just want to plug Goalie Gummies. Goalie Gummies. Get your discount apple cider vinegar gummies. Kendell Lenice. Use that promo code to get your percentage off. But healing starts from the inside out, and I'm all about healing. So I'm definitely a partner with Goalie Gummies. And there's so many different kinds now. The apple cider vinegar are my favorite. The ashwagandha gummies. There are so many different ones now. So check out Goalie.com. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you feel like someone can benefit from this show, don't be scared to forward this to them. Don't be selfish. Send them the goodness and the show about shame, because I guarantee you somebody is shameful about something, and it's time to release that for everybody so we can keep on growing and keep on loving. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, you are a star. Don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. And also, if you can leave a comment and rate, please do that. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, God bless. Peace. Thanks for listening. This has been a Kenny Lynn production.
Shine with Kendell Lenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.